It's your friend Lisa coming at you from my parents' house in the wonderful city of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And today, the tables are being turned, and I am going to be interviewed today on my own podcast. And I think it's going to be so much fun. Get ready for a revelatory conversation today on the Possibility Mom Live. I have decided to do this fun table turning today because there's been so much change in my life. I'm coming at you from Canada. We have decided to spend an extended period of time here in my home and native land. I have not seen my parents for 3 years. I have not seen my sister and her children for 3 years. So many things I have not seen for 3 years. And so it has been just a delight to come back. We're here for a period. We're renting out our beautiful home in Ave Maria, Florida. If anybody needs a winter getaway, go over to my Instagram at Lisa Canning to check out the details there. And really, I just feel very, very grateful. It has been a time of significant transition. I will share more about that in the weeks to come. I'm going to dedicate a whole podcast episode to what I've learned about myself in the process of moving a family of now 9 children back across the country again. But overall, really, it has just been a gift to reconnect with family, a gift to feel, I hesitate to say, the word that came to my mind was grounded. And it's not that I didn't feel grounded in Florida, but there is an interesting thing when you have lived in a city for 30 plus years and you return to it. Everything is familiar. Like everything is familiar. Even though the city has changed, there are new restaurants, there are new buildings and whatnot. I'm literally in my parents' house where I obviously lived for a really long time. I'm, walking around streets that I navigated as a child, as a teen, as a young adult, going to churches that I've been to so many times. So there is a interesting just groundedness that I feel being back in a place that I spent obviously so much time in. So that's been really interesting, kind of surprising. I didn't realize I would feel, I guess, I don't know, comforted obviously, but like I didn't realize how that would impact me. It has been a very nice adventure. So there's been a lot of change in my personal life, but there's also been a lot of change in my business. And I'm so excited to share some of these changes with you. And one of my Inner Circle Mastermind members reached out and was like, I'd like to interview you for my community about the new products that you've got going on. And I said, I would love that opportunity, but how about we do it on my podcast? Because I just think that would be so much fun. So today I'm bringing on somebody that I really want to encourage you to follow, to get to know, and to pay attention to. Her name is Stephanie Donahue. She comes with an incredibly unique perspective on the online space. And I'm going to let her introduce herself, but from the moment I met her, I was like, we are kindred spirits. We clearly were meant to do more things together. And I'm so excited. Everybody, welcome to the Possibility Mom Live. Stephanie Donahue. Hi, Stephanie. How you doing?
Hello, I'm pretty good. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
I cannot wait to turn the tables. I have heard other podcasts that I love and follow occasionally do this. And it's a treat to hear the host be interviewed, at least for me. And so I hope that this is just as similarly interesting for my podcast listeners. So Stephanie, introduce yourself for people who might not be familiar with you and your work.
Okay. My name is Stephanie Donahue, and I've been online since 2017. And since then, I've taken in every aspect of, as much as I can, of all marketing and online operations. And I've just fallen in love with supporting coaches, especially high-ticket coaches, with their programs and agency owners. And so I usually work with them with their launches or in an operations capacity. Right now, I'm a director of operations and a launch strategist in some companies. So that's how I love to serve.
She is being very understated right now. She has helped other companies make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like collectively in your career, Stephanie, you've probably made millions of dollars in other people's companies. And what I want to highlight, if you don't mind, and feel free to stop me if you don't want to, you tell as much of your story as you would like to. But what I find very interesting about you is you remind me a lot of myself a few years ago. We run in very similar online circles. So I have done basically, you name it, I have done their program. They're high ticket, like very high level. I've been in a couple high level coaching programs, masterminds, and what have you. And you and I kind of ran in the same circles, but I didn't know that, we were kind of running in those circles at the exact same time. I wasn't familiar with you yet. But then you came into my world at a very similar time that I had a few years ago, where you were kind of like coming to terms with your Catholic faith and how that impacts your worldview as an entrepreneur. Do you care to just share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's actually very personal to me, and so this is interesting. Several years ago, I felt like God tugging at my heart um, to help grow his church in a greater capacity, and then I said, "Why, Lord? Why do I have this love for online business so much, for all the marketing? Like I just can't get enough of it. Is it to serve you, Lord? Are you asking me to take in all this knowledge and get all this experience to serve you better? And what does that look like?" I didn't know at the time. And so I just kept on my way, trying to continuing to support other people, other businesses through my love just for them. And they see that I'm a Christian. And so I'm like, hopefully this is good, Lord. And so, but at some point I got a taste of working with a Catholic business owner. They hired me, and I had not met anyone. I didn't have the opportunity to work with anyone Catholic before. So this was such an amazing experience. And I'm like, I want to do more of this. Like, this is awesome. And so, eventually I ended up Googling Catholic entrepreneurs. And I found Henry Katarna with the Catholic CEO. He came up top on Google search. And I just started consuming his content. And I'm like, okay, like I'm going to follow him. And then I found an interview with Lisa. And it was immediately like, Lisa, I reached out to Lisa immediately. And I said, Lisa, I want you to be my mentor. I am looking for a mindset coach. And I knew that because she was Catholic, that it was just a perfect fit. Like Catholic plus mindset coach, like, yeah, I'm joining your program, whatever the program that is. And so it was just it wasn't too long after that I ended up joining and quickly escalated to your highest ticket program.
This is a whole other conversation that I feel like you and I could do a totally like other podcast about. If people are interested, let me know in the comments, send me a DM on Instagram at Lisa Canning, and we can facilitate that conversation, because I do think there are a lot of people out there who are going through a similar kind of, whatever you want to call it, a wrestling or a realization that there are certain things that they will do as a Catholic business owner. There are certain things that they will not. And it's been a very interesting last year in walking with a lot of people who are feeling like they can put that flag in the sand. I am a Catholic business owner. I want to support fellow Catholics. Some people are called to exclusively serve Catholics. Some people are not. And that's great too. But it's been an interesting last, I would say, about a year, really walking with a lot of people, yourself included. It's been so fascinating to watch this whole concept of the Catholic economy. Okay, so if you're interested in a podcast about that, let me know, because Stephanie and I could talk about that for hours. I am now officially going to turn over the reins to you, Stephanie, you go ahead. I have told Stephanie that whatever she wants to ask me, she can ask me, and I'm just so excited. All right, Stephanie, let's go.
Yes, thank you. I have some burning questions. So I would love to hear, because not everyone watches like every Instagram story like I do now. So could you please tell us, who is Lisa Canning? Like, what do you love to do? Like, what sparks you? What are your hobbies? What energizes you?
Oh my goodness, it's so interesting. I've been doing a lot of reflection, especially in this transition of this extended period in Canada and whatnot. And I went through a lot this past year. We lost a baby. I had some big business disappointments. So there's been a lot of self-reflection in the last year. And what I have really come to is the underlying thread in everything that I do that really lights me up is hope. Like I love helping moms find hope in everything. So whether that's business or whether that is motherhood, whether that is putting on makeup on your face, whether that is organizing a room that you feel like there's no way it can be organized. I love helping people feel that sense of you can do it. So there's a hope that is available, but now let's also come up with the strategy behind it. And again, it could be anything. Like it could be like, I can't figure out pregnancy, like wardrobe. Like it could be anything. Let's now figure out the plan of how we're going to execute that. And so that's really like underlying everything. That is what lights me up. Can we find some hope, and then can we create a plan? And it can be a complex plan or a very simple plan. And then I'm going to cheer you on. So many people know this about me because I talk about it somewhat often. I was a collegiate cheerleader. I love cheerleading. And I basically never put my pom-poms down post university. And it's funny because I remember when I learned this about myself, that actually hardwired in some of my strength finder strengths and just my natural temperament, I am a hardwired encourager. Like that is just a big part of my DNA, so to speak. And I remember being like, that's like not leverageable. Like that's just like fluffy and whatever. But what I've learned now in my work is that it's a through line. It's a huge through line. So it really lights me up to cheerlead, so to speak. And even in the most sort of mundane or seemingly non-significant things, like let's clean your room or let's clean your face, but also to the most very challenging like mental illness in a marriage or the loss of a baby, finding that hope. And then what is the strategy we're going to employ to get you through the day? That's what really lights me up.
And I've been a direct recipient of that cheerleading, and I've loved every minute of it, especially, there's been some hard times, and literally you've just been such a spark of just hope and encouragement. And it's just amazing how far that can go. So I've heard that you were on HGTV, and I've always been interested because I've heard like that's when you got your start kind of thing. But I would imagine if someone's on HGTV, that's not the start. That's actually like they actually had to get big to be able to get on there. So I'm curious, could you please share that story, how that all happened?
It is, I'll be honest, it's a little random. Like even when I look at it, I'm like, how did that actually happen? So here's the full story. I went to a performing arts high school called Cardinal Carter, like 10 minutes from where I'm sitting talking to you right now. And I was very involved in my high school. It's a high school where you pick an art domain and you specialize in it. It's a very cool, it's like fame, like it's very cool. People dance in the hallways and all that thing. I was a visual art major, but I also was very involved in student leadership and Catholic student things. And so I was often speaking in front of the student body. I was student council president one year. I did a lot of different, things where I had to speak in front of people. And there was a mom at the high school, Mercedes DeCastro. I have never thanked her personally for this. Mercedes, if you're listening to this, I have to one day go and thank her personally. So Mrs. DeCastro came up to me one day and was like, have you ever thought about TV? And I remember just thinking at that time, so I was about 18 years old, I was like, TV's not a career. At that time, there was no Instagram influencer. Like at that time, if you were on TV and it was your career, you were like a news anchor or you were an actor. Even reality TV was just emerging at that time. And so she was like, I just think, she was a casting agent. And she was like, I think you would be sensational on TV. Can I introduce you to so-and-so and so-and-so? And I was like, sure. Like, I don't know. I need a summer job. Like, sure, let's do it. And so she put me in touch with a company called Tricon Films, where she had some colleagues, and they were looking for a young designer who had no interior design experience. And they really wanted to show the guffaws, like literally. Like that's how they pitched the show to me. They were like, we really want to just sort of put you on TV and see what happens your very first time designing a house on national television with no experience and with no budget. Like the budget for the entire home, including the kitchen, was $30,000. Like that's like, it was an entire home renovation. Anyway, so as a young, this was my job. Let me just think of the timeline really quick. So she introduced me to some people. I did some very little small projects, like very small TV projects with this company, Tricon, over my college. Like I did 2 episodes of a reality show that they were filming. And then I remember I graduated. I had no job prospects. All of my girlfriends were getting jobs. All of my girlfriends were getting jobs at like the coolest places, like magazines and fashion, institutions in Canada. And I remember I was like twiddling my thumbs. I was like, how come I don't have a job yet? I'm a scholarship student. Like I was all like feeling so bad about myself. And then literally it was a week before my convocation, I want to say. I remember I had to take the day off to go graduate. That Tricon Films was like, hey, like, remember we did those random projects, a few years ago. We're looking for somebody for this specific role. So I started the show, took the day off to go graduate. I thought it was going to be my summer job. And then all these people called. The show aired in, I think, like 33 different countries globally. And so people started to call. And that's when I was like, I should probably start a business. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how to interior design. I had no idea how to run an interior design business. And I kind of just figured it out as I went along. Failed a lot those first few years. And then I ended up getting quite a bit into design production. So for many years, I worked on the back end of shows. So not like on camera, but working behind the scenes, supporting the hosts. And so I worked on the Property Brothers for many, many years, and with other personalities that people. I think I've frozen, but I think I'm back.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Here we go. Okay. Story of how I got started on HGTV.
That is so amazing. I could have never guessed that in a million years. It's amazing. So I have to say, though, that's truly amazing that you learned basically on the job. But I do have to say that your home in Ave Maria, Florida, where you've been sharing all the videos and pictures since it's available for rent, I'm like, okay, how fast can I get there? It's so beautiful. You've done such a great job with it.
It really is a beautiful home. Like I have to objectively say it is a really, really beautiful home. It's a beautiful retreat experience, truly. Like it's a very peaceful place to spend a few weeks of the winter. So anyway, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, gosh, I found out about Ave Maria, Florida when I was at a conference in Florida, just like last September, end of September, for the first time. And I saw a picture with the church in the middle and then the community around. And I'm like, that is a dream come true. Like, is this for real? And I told my husband, I want to move there. And so ever since then, I've been like, we've got to move there. I'm like, I wonder if there's like a house for rent that we could at least see if we like it first.
Well, you should totally rent my house. It's a delightful, delightful space to live.
That's awesome. So after that, you ended up writing a book called The Possibility Mom. And from what I hear, you did some touring and spoke on stages. Could you tell me, like, how did all that happen? Like, you were on what, the Today Show? Like, tell me how all of that conspired.
So when I was interior designing, I had a whole bunch of children. Like, we just kind of never stopped. And so I remember, the early days of growing my family and practicing interior design on TV. I remember thinking, there is no way this is going to work. Like I just remember being like, I don't know how I'm going to be on camera with a breastfeeding infant and like be at some place at like 6 a.m. for a call time. Like I just, in my head, it couldn't compute. And to be very frank with you, many people were confirming that. They were saying things like, you really should kind of think about what children are going to do to your TV career. I actually had somebody very blatantly say that, like, you probably shouldn't get pregnant. Like, you should probably wait and just kind of like let your TV career like launch. They didn't know I was pregnant at the time when they were saying that to me. So there were just lots of different messages, but we kept having children and we kept just figuring it out, not perfectly, but we just devised different strategies other than putting our children in daycare. Like we really just were like, how can we keep our children with us and continue to both work? And it just required, I mean, I'm not trying to be sort of overly like, oh, it's so easy. Like I'm not trying to be Pollyanna about it. It required a lot of strategy, but we just continued to find ways to make it work. So for example, I would have a babysitter with me while I worked on TV projects. So she would take the babies away so that I could like do physical things with my hands. When the baby needed to nurse, she would bring them back. We figured out a lot of things like that. Like sometimes we had two babysitters. Sometimes I had a babysitter at home with some kids, and then a babysitter with me with the infant who was nursing. My husband worked from home for periods of his career. Like we kind of just did, there were times when he was on paternity leave. We really just tried everything and anything to keep our children close to us and allow both of us to work. And I also made some significant changes to my business as we had more children and as I began to recognize my strengths. So I shifted my interior design business to consulting only when I learned that I'm really great at the beginning of a project. Like I just, with my natural temperament, my strategy, my ability to like picture a room and design it in 5 minutes, because that was one of the gifts of working in TV. We never had time. Like in the real world, a huge renovation would take like 6 months to a year. I would be given a house for like 3 weeks, and you would have to do a significant amount of work in a 3-week period that just would never happen in the real world. So there was no time to kind of hum and haw over design decisions. Like I had to walk in, picture a space. And so I learned that, oh, this is actually a leverageable skill. There are people who want to hire designers, but not necessarily work with them long term. So this is a long-winded way of saying I made all these changes to my business so that my family life could also thrive. And people started to take notice. People would ask me questions, kind of like I'd be at a design party, like downtown Toronto, we'd be all dressed up. And designers would like pull me into the corner being like, you seem so happy and you don't seem to work like every minute of the day. Like, what are you doing that's different? And then similarly, Stephanie, clients who would hire me for a design consult, they'd be paying me a very high fee to be in the house. They'd be like, I'm so sorry. Like, can we please stop the design consult? I need to ask you how on earth you're running your life. At the time it was 6 kids when I was designing, with 6 kids, and you've got lipstick on and you seem so happy and collected. And I kind of just started to realize, okay, there's clearly something that I'm doing that I'm maybe not aware of. Maybe I can't articulate it right now, but I'm clearly doing something that people are interested in. And so that is where the book came out of. A lovely woman I was introduced to, Karen Anderson, who was the acquisitions editor for a company called Morgan James, a publishing house called Morgan James. We were at a dinner together, and I remember it so distinctly, Stephanie. I thought a book was the kind of thing, like you were saying about an HGTV show. I thought a book was the thing you did when you'd made it, quote unquote. Like, I didn't think a book was the thing that you could write when nobody knew who you were. And it was interesting. We were at this dinner, and Karen was kind of hearing all the stories of everybody at the table. And she called me like, I don't know, maybe a day or two after, and was like, the time for your book is now. Like, we're at this interesting time and period where the internet is allowing moms to do many different things from home. We're at this, she was kind of calling it almost like a crucible. Like, we're at this time period where maybe moms need to work because of the cost of living wherever they are, but they don't want to feel trapped. You could be this very unique voice. And so she encouraged me to write the book. It took 3 years. I had 2 babies. Wow. In the time period of birthing this book. I remember, I think I let 2 deadlines from the publisher come and go. It might have even been 3. But the book got written, and then we just kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. We worked with an amazing publishing team and an amazing press team who were very relentless. I'll tell you the Today Show story. So they were very relentless in getting my book out to people. And I shared with them, like, okay, it would be really cool to be on Today Show. It would be really cool to be on Hallmark Home and Family. And it would be really cool to be in the New York Times. But I was like, listen, I'm very detached. Like, I realize I'm like a no-name author. Like, you know, I'm very detached, whatever, right? And Hallmark Home and Family happened very easily. I remember that one. I think it was just like timing. That one was so cool. That was on the back lots of Universal Studios. That was such a unique experience. So much fun. I remember thinking I had tanked that interview completely because I was so nervous. I remember like thinking I could hear, like that the audience could hear my heart pounding because I was so nervous on that show. And then that went really well. But today's show was interesting because we, the team submitted the book and me, and then they passed. And then they were like, don't worry about it. This happens all the time. They submitted again. They passed again. This particular press company, they're called Smith PR, based out of New York. They were like, okay, we have another client who's going to be on the show. And when I'm there, I'm going to mention you again. And third time, I'm pretty sure they passed. And then I kind of just was like, okay, whatever. I'm clearly like, it's just not the time, like maybe in the future, blah, blah, blah. And then it just was like, her name was Joelle. She was just so persistent. She was like, I'm just going to keep trying until we get you on. And if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to get Joelle to confirm, but if I'm not mistaken, it was the fourth time and just timing lined up perfectly. I was on with another author, and it was a big motherhood panel we talked about, and it was such a great experience. It truly was like, I look back on that period with such fondness. It was so much fun and such a thrill to do live TV at that caliber, because you got one chance to nail it. You don't have multiple chances. And it's the Today Show. So like, there's no like do-over. You're just there and then you're ushered out and then you're like, bye, see you later. So that was a real thrill. I really, I loved my Today Show experience.
Wow. And you have such stage presence. I mean, you've become such a great speaker. I imagine the HGTV experience must have helped a lot with that, but yeah.
It's a skill. I think live TV. So I had done a lot of live TV leading up to the Today Show. So where I lived in Canada, I was a regular on several morning, like the kind of show that you drink with your cup of coffee, like you watch with your cup of coffee and they like tell you the traffic and they tell you the weather today. I did a lot of those kinds of shows throughout the Greater Toronto area. So I got very, I guess, skilled at, okay, you have 2 minutes to talk about something and you have to kind of like say it succinctly, but also not speak too fast. Like, I think I got versed in that skill of speaking in sound bites. You often give me this feedback that you like it when I point that out, that I know how to speak in sound bites, but that's just the product of having to do a lot of live TV in my career.
Amazing. Okay, so my next question for you is, what makes you stand out from other mindset and business coaches? Because obviously you stand out, because I was immediately attracted to working with you.
Well, that's an interesting question. The first thing that comes to mind is I do have unique experience. So I have unique experience in sort of traditional business. My interior design career was a bit more of a traditional business. And I have experience online. So, and similar to you, been in so many people's inner circle groups and coaching communities, and just very similar to you, was obsessed. I continue to be obsessed, but was really, really like consuming so much content. So I think that's one unique thing. I bring, 15 years plus of different kinds of business experience. But I think the thing that is truly unique about me that you may or may not find other places, but is I navigate life with 9 kids, and I navigate life also with a spouse who has mental illness like in his life. And so what that brings is, I'm going to call it a sensitivity, I guess. That's the word that's coming to mind. A sensitivity of how your work life impacts your family and how your family life impacts your work life. When we discovered mental illness in our marriage, my husband had disclosed to me when we were just dating, hey, like when I was in, my late teens, I guess, or early 20s, I had significant bouts of depression. And, he told me that whole story. And I remember when we were like first getting married, like in those years, I was like, you're like the most happy-go-lucky guy I know. Like clearly this is in the rear view. But depression didn't come back in him until our third child. And it's interesting, and this is probably a whole other, podcast that we could do. It's interesting because now looking back, I can see all the signs. This was when I was building my interior design career. This is when I was working easily 16-hour days plus. This was when I was very driven to be successful. And I hate to say it, but almost at all costs. Like I just was like, no, I'm making it in TV, and I'm making it as an interior designer, and I'm making it as a great mom. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder because so many people told me I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't be a good mom and be on TV, or that I couldn't be on TV and be a good mom. So I had this sort of chip on my shoulder, which unfortunately led to not so healthy practices at home. And so I think that's just something that is very different about me. I've had to learn how to not give up, I guess. To be honest, that's probably the easiest way to say it. I'll give you a prime example from my life right now. So we're at my mom's house. It's a wonderful house, but it doesn't really have the number of bedrooms that we're really used to, like our house in Ave Maria had, nor does it currently have the number of beds. We've just ordered mattresses and bunk beds so that this house can be a little bit more situated. But we're currently, like, my little girls are not sleeping great unless I'm sleeping beside them. And anybody following me for a while, you know how much I care about sleep. Like I am a sleep, like I really, like when kids go down, they're down. I am not one that tolerates a lot of like getting up and like 7 times I need a glass of water. Like I am very strict about good sleep practices. So it's been really challenging for me to just have to be a little bit more flexible. And not that I'm very careful using the word I have no choice, because I do have a choice. I guess I could let them roam the house all night long. Like that is an option. I could let them roam the house all night long, or I could just let them fall asleep anywhere, I guess, like watching TV or, but I really want to try as much as possible to continue really good sleep habits for them. And so right now, until we get these beds and doors that close in bedrooms with enough beds, they're kind of like, I have to stay with them. And that's been a really interesting thing to navigate, because typically I would do a little bit of work in the evening or what have you. And so to bring it back to your original question, I have developed a perseverance that is fueled by, okay, Lord, this is what's happening. Unless you show me something else, I'm going to trust that you're going to make the time available later, or I'm going to trust that you're going to, make the people available or whatever it is available, so that I can serve my family well and I can serve my work well. So I would say it's that interesting combination of having to be sensitive to the needs of a very large family with very small children, and flexibility in the way that I do work is what makes me a little bit unique.
Well, I can add to that I find you very relatable.
Mm.
And so I can literally talk about anything and you're like, yeah, I've been there. Experience that. And so it's just, that's very, that's what makes me want to keep talking to you. It's like, you get me. So when I see you working with your clients, as we have group calls that we attend, and even with our one-on-one calls that I get with you, I see your superpower is in mindset coaching, and that is like literally why I pay you. But it truly is your superpower. And so I would love for you to share. Well, one thing that I want to mention first is you mentioned one thing to me that stuck out to me, and I've noticed this just in general, is you can purchase all of these programs, great programs, like, you pay $2,000 and you can be able to create a membership, or you can be able to launch something, or whatever. But what gets people stuck in actually finishing, like after day one, when they see who is your avatar, and you're like, what's avatar? Like, what, no, that's overwhelming. I don't want to do market research. I don't want to do any of that. It's like this mindset thing just gets them stuck, like from the beginning. And it's like the course never even gets finished, or the business doesn't get launched. So I find that what you do with helping people's mindset to get unstuck from just motherhood, from being a Catholic, from business, like all of the things that we as Catholic moms experience is so valuable. And so I just wanted to state that. That's just.
Thank you. And it comes down to that perseverance. So what you just described is so common in both motherhood and in business. We get to a point where something gets difficult. So let's just say building a business. You get to a point where you're like, I can't talk live on camera. And so then you're like, forget it. I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll do that in a week. I'll do that when things settle down, right? Similarly, in motherhood, you might be thinking, I want to homeschool, but you're like, there's no way I can do that. Like, how can I teach my kids, or how can I deal with the chaos, or how can I go without breaks from them? And then you're like, forget it. And you just either don't pursue it as an option, or you infinitely delay making that decision. P.S. Delaying making a decision can create so much exhaustion. I love helping people make decisions, because then you just get to move on. Being in this limbo, if indefinite, is very, very challenging. It's a lot of wasted energy. Anyway, and so the mindset really, like, but then when you bring in the Catholic anthropology, we can start to look at, okay, well, what virtue do I need to ask for more of so that I can make this decision, or I can continue the virtue that really the Lord has really, like, I'm like, okay, Lord, come on, send it down, is courage. Like I'm right now asking for a lot of courage, because like living out of boxes and just kind of navigating the natural questions my kids have, navigating many different things as an entrepreneur, it requires a lot of courage, or at least right now for me in my life, there's a lot of courage. Like I need a lot of courage every single day. And when you bring in knowing that that is available to you, and that it is a supernatural availability, like this is not you. I'm not asking for courage from within myself, although that does exist. I'm asking for the Lord to pour down his Holy Spirit upon me and to allow me to be an instrument. Allow me to relent of self-reliance and relent of control. I love me some control, Stephanie. Oh my gosh. And so I just, like, right now, this is like a very challenging time, but I know that this is an important period in my life to relent of a lot of control, as scary as that is for someone like me. And so it's just the Catholic mindset is one where you are truly trusting the Lord with the outcome of everything, and where you really can appeal to virtue. So that's just very important to know.
Amazing. And you know what I find so valuable from working with you is you make things look easy, and you show me like how to keep going when times get tough. Mm-hmm. By modeling, by example. You literally walk the talk. And that is, you can't put a price tag on it, honestly. It's just amazing. It's given me so much strength. Like, for example, you share in a call a few days before you traveled to Canada. Yeah, I'm going to be moving to Canada, driving like whatever 20 plus hours in our van. through the winter storm. And and then we don't hear from you for several days. And then you're like, oh, we're in Canada now. It's like, wow, that was easy.
I mean, thank you for that. It's definitely not always easy. And there are times when I'm like, there are times when I'm just like, I don't want to do anything, share anything, motivate anybody. Like there are a lot of times. But I'll be honest with you, I feel better when I am sharing. I feel like it's valid. I heard it said, I was listening to some YouTube expert about creators. So YouTubers who do constant, like do, whatever, maybe a weekly upload or a bi-weekly upload, like they're creating content a lot, but not just like reviewing reviewing a mug or like, or maybe it is that kind of content, but they're also sharing their lives and they're being very regular about it. And this one creator had pulled from this study that showed that these creators who were doing this often had incredible mental health. And I think there's a correlation there when you are processing, when you are sharing, and not everybody has to share. Everybody gets to decide how much of their lives they share on the internet. I'm not saying that everybody has to share it. But for me, there has been a value in sometimes, I guess, I don't want to describe it like showing up when I don't want to, because that's not accurate. I kind of always want to show up. It's not like, but I guess sometimes it's articulating when it's hard and putting that to words, because let's just be honest, sometimes we don't want to feel difficult emotions. Sometimes it is easier to eat a bag of potato chips and pretend that difficult emotion doesn't exist. When we lost our baby, I've never had a miscarriage before. We lost a baby. We just learned it was a girl. It took for some reason like many weeks to get that test back. And so we chose to name the baby without knowing the sex of the baby. We named the baby Jude because I passed the baby on St. Jude's feast day. So I was like, let's just do Jude. And then we learned it was a girl. So now we're like, maybe we call her Judy. Like, I don't know. Like, but anyway, my point is I tried to comfort my emotions with food and alcohol after I miscarried. And I can remember it so distinctly. Like, it was like midnight. I was in bed. I was feeling so sad. I wasn't even hungry. It was after midnight. Like, there was no reason for me to eat a full bag of potato chips. But I was like, I am so sad right now. I just will do, I need to do something to not feel this sad. That went on for like maybe at least a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I just was like, there's got to be another alternative to this. So my point in sharing this is, again, a long-winded way of saying that it is helpful for me to process negative emotion by talking about it. I find it helpful to create content that, to be honest, is like self-coaching for me. Most of the time, guys, spoiler alert, when I'm creating content, it's because I need the reminder. And so a lot of the things that come out of, my Instagram and come out of this YouTube channel are from a place of like, I need this reminder myself, or I need to look back on this video one day and be like, oh yeah, remember that time when you really didn't trust the Lord's plan for your life, but you did this? Like, I need those touch points for myself. Not everybody needs to do this on YouTube, but he talks about all the time, like, recall. And this is something I offer my coaching clients a lot. Recall how the Lord has blessed you. Recall how when you've been stressed out about money or stressed out about time, the Lord has provided whatever you needed. We need these, whether it's in a journal or whether it's in a bulletin board, or like me, you create content around things in your life. These periods of recall can be so helpful to you, because in our human failing, we're going to forget. Like, we just are. The devil loves when we forget how much the Lord provides. And so I create this content, honestly, as coaching and reminders for myself as well.
As someone who works with a lot of content creators, that is the best way to create content is I hear it so often. I created this program because I was helping myself. And then I decided to share it with people. And those are the ones that do really well. So, on that note, could you please tell everyone how they can work with you and what are your current programs you've been launching throughout this move, and which is also very impressive. The average person would say, no, I'm going to stop business for the next couple of months while I get situated, but nope, you keep on going on. So please share, how can we work with you, and what's available to us right now?
You are so kind. Before I do that, I just really want to thank you, Stephanie. This has been really fun. It's not often that, this gets to happen. So I'm very, very grateful. Thank you for taking the time to interview me. And just like, I really want to say thank you. You've been a real source of encouragement for me personally, even though you are paying me right now for mindset coaching and for our Inner Circle Mastermind. You have been a real source of encouragement to me. So thank you so, so much. I am so excited about my brand new academy. So there are now a couple different ways that you can work with me. If you go on my Instagram at Lisa Canning, there's a cute little graphic that kind of shows you what this looks like. But basically, by popular demand, people had been telling me, I would love to work with you, but I just simply don't have $2,000, or I don't have this, I don't have that, but I do have $49. And like, I really want to, learn from you, but in this capacity. And so I was like, listen, okay, this is what we're doing. I have launched the Wealth Without Guilt and the Motherhood Without Guilt Academy. They're two separate academies where you get access to my digital library of products. So if you have ever wanted to build a business, if you have ever wanted to organize your life, if you've ever wanted time management strategies from a mom of 9 with a Catholic lens, these are the academies for you. At $49, this is the founding members price. Honestly, I don't know where else, maybe it exists somewhere else, but I don't know where else you're going to find this kind of material all in one place with a Catholic context, available with a cheerleader attached. I don't know. Like, you also get me monthly for Q&A and for literal cheerleading when you join the academy. The other way you can work with me is in coaching. So Wealth Without Guilt, Motherhood Without Guilt have their own live coaching components where every single week you get to leverage my experience, but my training really as a certified Catholic mindset coach. It's a very fascinating thing when we can examine our thoughts, because our thoughts are what create feelings. Our feelings are what generate actions. And then our actions, or lack thereof, are what are going to produce results in our life. I can tell you right now, there were many times when I wanted to succumb to a terrible mindset. Like during this move, there was I'm in a home with a dog, and half of my kids, turns out, have really severe allergies to dogs. And so there were many times in the last couple of weeks where I just was like, I'm giving up. That's it. I'm giving up. But then I had to rely on my own mindset coaching. I had to rely on my own training to be like, is this thought helpful to you right now? Who would want you to believe this thought? Where is this thought leading you? And do you want to hang on to it? It can be difficult to do this on your own. I have a coach. This is why I have a coach. This is why, Stephanie, you work with me as your coach. It can be really difficult. It's possible. You can do this on your own, but just let me know in the comments. Send me a DM if this resonates with you. That feeling of being like, I cannot survive this. I think this is a very relatable feeling when you're just like, forget it. I'm done. Like, this is too hard. Sometimes you need somebody to hold your hand and look you straight in the eye and be like, listen, we're going to get out of this together. Okay, we're going to do this together, but you kind of have to like play a part here. And the part that we're playing is our thoughts. Your thoughts, truly. I would hear this from other people, Stephanie, and I would be like, this is woo-woo hullabaloo. Like, I would be like, what? Your thoughts don't determine your reality? That's dumb. Like, literally, I really was very skeptical, and with good reason. A Catholic should be skeptical of what there are some places that will not lead you to Jesus when it comes to mindset training. So you do have to be aware of what mindset coaches are telling you. But my favorite thing to encourage my clients in, and I love when I see them sharing it with other people. I love when I see them doing it themselves. And this, honestly, if you don't remember anything else from this podcast today, remember this. When you have a thought, a really great sieve to put a thought through is who would want you to believe this thought? Would Jesus want you to believe this, or would the enemy? And that can sometimes just have like a really great moment of clarity. You still might feel bad after, you still might not know how to get out. But even just that small shift of like, tell the devil no, not today, like can be hugely helpful to now come up with a plan. And so that's what happens in coaching. In coaching, you can bring me a really specific situation, a really specific thought, and I will help you to assess how reasonable is that thought? Is that something we really want to hang on to? And if it's not, what do we want to hang on to instead? What is a different thought that we can think that will actually get us where we want to go? And then I have a high-level mastermind that Stephanie is in, and I'm really excited. I'm going to be starting in this year 2 different tracks. One for people who are already making multi-six figures and really want the support of a seasoned entrepreneur who also has a bunch of children. So there will be a track for people like that, but there's also going to be a track for people who are looking to fast track their business. So meaning they don't want to go buy a whole bunch of courses. They don't want to take a lot of time. Maybe you're coming from another profession, like you were a teacher for many years, or you were in medicine for many years, or you did something different and now you want to do something online, or now you want to be a coach and you kind of just don't want to figure out all the things. You want somebody to just tell you what to do. There's going to be an opportunity for people who want to fast track their business. So those are the 3 ways that people can work with me. We also have a charity coming out this year that I'm really excited about. My husband and I have been long looking for a way to support couples who have mental illness in their marriage, but also to make it a charismatic, like proclaiming the name of Jesus endeavor. And so we are very excited to be launching that charity, and we will be sharing some details there. But you can learn all about that, all the things in the link right below.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Lisa, are the Academies your newest offer? Is that the newest thing you're offering? So, what struck in you like, I need to create this right now? Right now is the time.
People, to be very frank, were telling me things like, I really want to work with you, but the funds are not available. The other phrase that I would hear a lot was, I can't justify this price. And I understand that completely. When you've been running a business and you have not made any money yet, or you've been running a business and you've sank a lot of money into it, I would have so many conversations with women who would say, there is no way I can justify this expense to my husband. They would say things like, Lisa, I am sure you're worth every single penny, but my money or my business has cost us more than it is made. I can't spend another cent. And so I really just wanted to provide an accessible way to get the training that you need. Here's the thing about business specifically. Motherhood is similar, but business really specifically. You don't know what you don't know. And so why not leverage someone else like you and I, who is obsessed with learning and obsessed with all things online business? Why not leverage someone else's knowledge and think of how much time is saved? One of my favorite features that you get now inside of the Wealth Without Guilt Academy is my course, The Business Buffet. It is your essential elements of running an online business, of creating an online brand. Again, there are amazing programs out there. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but not everybody has $50,000 plus to invest in like 10 different programs. It's just not the reality for a lot of people. Or not everybody wants to put that all on a credit card, or not everybody all wants to take out a loan. So I really wanted to provide a simple, non-stressful, non-financially scary way to get in and actually learn and make money. My goal with all of my programs is that you make back your investment and then some. I have some amazing stories from my Wealth Without Guilt community where just in the first few months they had made their investment. In the past, Wealth Without Guilt was a $2,000 investment. And I have just like some incredible stories of women who just like within the first few months made that back and then some. So this is what I want. I want people to make money. I want Catholics to make money. I want Catholic moms to feel like they love their lives, but not in the way like my spiritual director challenged me really hard, Stephanie. He was like, you keep talking about how you love your life. Like, you know that people who love their life will lose it. And I'm like, Father Damien! Well, not in the attachment way. Like, I want everybody to be detached, yes. But the Lord also does not want you to be miserable. Like, really, like the Lord does not want you to feel like your life is unsustainable or to feel like, like he wants you to rely on him. Yes, but let's also rely on your intellect and your reason and the things that are available in the world to help you succeed in life. Like, a meal doesn't always have to take 3 hours, or going to the park or the library with your kids doesn't have to leave you completely stressed out every single time. There are strategies, both practical as well as in the mind, that can help you to live your life fully, colorfully, and at the end of the day, following the Lord's will for your life. I think there are so many things that can get in the way of our ability to follow the Lord's will that we put ourselves, like unnecessary suffering that we create for ourselves. And so whether it's in business or in motherhood, my goal is that the Academy or coaching allows you to get that training, to get that support, to make the money or make the time and be able then to serve the Lord however you are uniquely called to serve him.
Amazing. And I have to say that your academies are the best way to get in to having access to you if funds are really tight, or if you have that husband's like, no more programs, or I don't know about this. It is just kind of like a no-brainer way to get in because the cost is so low. It's a very easy entry, but you get access to all of the tools that she's built over the years, that she's created to build her business with. And you still get, the access to through that group call.
Yeah, you get me. Oh my gosh. And I think too, sometimes, and I want to be very mindful of your time. This has been so much fun. I could talk to you literally all day, but we should wrap up soon. Mindset coaching, I think, can sometimes be a little bit, it is intangible. Like when people are like, well, what's a coach? Like, what can you not get just from like going to mass or like listening to a good homily, or I don't know, like reading scripture. All these things are important. Don't get me wrong. The participation in the sacraments, reading scripture daily, all these things are very important. So much benefit from great homilies. Like, I'm a Father Mike Schmidt's total fangirl. Like these pieces of content are so helpful, but they don't talk back to you. Mm-hmm. They don't challenge you. Now, the voice of God, of course, can. So when you're praying and you're reading scripture, certainly the voice of God will obviously say things to you. I don't know about you. God doesn't always talk to me, but a mindset coach will. And a mindset coach that is trained, again, to view everything from a Catholic lens with the Catholic anthropology very much in mind, is going to challenge you in a way that's going to lead you to Jesus. That's really like the prayer that I often say before I start coaching. We said it right before we got on this call, is may we decrease and you increase, Lord. And that's it. And it's just, secular coaching will take you to a certain point. Secular coaching will give you motivation, certainly, equip you with skills, and you can get really great mindset training from a secular source. But a Catholic source will ensure that you are constantly pointing all things to Jesus Christ, that Jesus is your true source of transformation. And there's just and there's a freedom, I think, too. Like, it's just, I'll just selfishly, if I may, it is so fun to feel the Holy Spirit, like, working when I coach. It's so fun to witness the Holy Spirit in the lives of my clients. It's incredible to watch breakthroughs happen, knowing that like maybe, yes, I facilitated, or maybe I said something that challenged, but ultimately all things come from the Lord, and all things are made possible by the power of the Holy Spirit and his saving salvific, that's the same word, but grace. It's just that grace is what allows us to persevere. We participate, but it's just so fun where it's that free, and you can really just know that this is all the Lord and we get to
Oh
participate.
yeah,
It's
definitely. Like you've taught me that business is fun. Like I already knew it was fun, but like really making it fun, and the joy of having us pray together in doing business together with prayer added to it is just really elevated my spiritual life personally and helping my family. It's just been really a joy. So final question. Um, Everyone's talking about their word of the year.
Oh,
And so I am curious, have you created a word or decided on a word of the year?
okay. So Jen Fulweiler, who many of you I know and love, and she and I have become personal friends through the years. She has a word of the year generator. So I did it. And I don't know what happened in like my algorithm, because I was like, the first word I got was dress, like dress,
Dress.
DRESS. I was like,
Oh,
dress? So I was like, we're going to get another word, because I couldn't get anything from that. I was like, dress. I don't know. Like I really, like I tried really hard. I was like, okay, what could dress mean? What could dress like really like whatever? And I was like, no. So I clicked another word. And the second word I got on her word of the year generator was spirit. And I think that is the word I'm going to go with, tied with obedience.
mhm.
Because again, I've shared, this has been an interesting year. This has been an interesting year of discernment, coming back to Canada and putting our house, for rental, and kind of what that looks like for schooling for my kids too, right? So I'm joining the ranks of homeschooling moms now. It's so
Oh,
interesting.
welcome.
We want to be, we have a strong desire to be very mobile this year. That's kind of why it's been, I'm still kind of living out of boxes, because we're really trying to discern exactly where we're going to land. So we want to be really mobile. So that's part of that, was we want to be able to travel and do kinds of interesting things. And we can do that when we are both entrepreneurial, both my husband and I. So anyway, what was my point in sharing this all with you? Oh, so spirit and obedience. I just sort of feel like that has not steered me wrong, even though it's difficult. But it really is this docility.
Mhm.
Docility that even when it doesn't seem obvious, or it seems like this is not going to be an easy way, but I'm asking you to be obedient, these have not steered me wrong. So for me, it's spirit and obedience. What are you? What's your word?
Oh, well, yeah, I did that same generator and I got the word persevere. And I'm
Ooh,
like, I like it. So I'm going with it.
amazing. So good. Stephanie, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for interviewing me. This has
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Let me know on Instagram, everybody, at Lisa Canning. Send me a DM what was interesting to you about this episode. I learned some things about myself in this interview, so thank you so much for that. Stephanie, where can people go to learn more about you and the way that you support businesses?
Okay, so I started a Facebook group for Catholics who are doing online business, and it is literally called Catholics and Online Business. So you can join my Facebook group. It's a free way for me to provide some support for those who are faithful Catholics and who want to do this fun stuff with us of growing online businesses.
It's, what's your favorite thing about growing a business, Stephanie?
I love taking action. And so I love momentum. Like
Ooh.
literally, I just love momentum through action and just seeing. And then when you add, God in the mix with it, it's just amazing to see the fruit of your labor and where God's directing you. And I just crave it so much.
You are so fun. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I will see you next time on the Possibility Mom Live. Until then, don't forget, you've got until Sunday. So this founding members price on my academies and on my coaching is all available until Sunday, midnight Pacific. So get on in at this founding members price. Lock your price in now before they go up after Sunday. Stephanie, you are a delight. Thank you so, so much. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.